Ticket socialism? What's that? Well, if you live in Washington, D.C., you're about to find out. Let's go. Hey, I'm Sonny from Sonny Reviews. One of the things that really burn me up is when the government gets involved in a business that they have no business getting involved in, like tickets, for example. First off, right now on the books in Washington, D.C., some council members are trying to pass a law to change the ticket business. They think that they have all the solutions that are going to make the ticket business great. The bill that they're proposing has a couple of things in it that sound wonderful, okay? They're proposing that tickets be resold for no more than 10%, and certain practices that ticket resellers do become illegal. And I propose to you the ticket business should not be controlled by the government. In fact, I don't think the government should be in the ticket business at all, or any business. The government should be involved in the business of running the government. They should not be involved in running and regulating a private business. The number one law that should determine the ticket business is the law of supply and demand. I'll explain all this to you very shortly. I equate this to the council members running for class president of fifth grade. Okay, the class president of fifth grade says there's going to be no homework, there's going to be no tests, there's going to be ice cream and candy for lunch. Great, that sounds wonderful, right? But the reality is you're going to have a lot of dumb, fat kids on your hands if you let that kid become president and invoke his way of doing business. If you let these council members' law go into effect, it's the same thing is going to happen. You have great ideas that sound wonderful on paper, and in fact will persuade many voters to say, yeah, go get them, get those nasty ticket guys and get those prices back down to earth. Well, the problem is, it sounds wonderful, just like the no test and free ice cream for lunch sounds to the fifth graders. The reality is completely different than how it sounds, okay? Now, there have been countless studies done by many universities around the country that talk about the economics of tickets. And if you're into supply and demand curves and you know about, basic economic principles, you know that there is laws of supply and demand that determine the most efficient pricing out there, okay? So what happens though is if you have a supply and demand curve for tickets, right? And you have a set price of $100 a ticket, let's say, and artificially the government says, okay, from now on, any resale ticket can only be sold for 10% over that. That's $110. That creates a line right here. Okay, but that means that there's going to be a huge discrepancy between the amount of people that still want to go after it sells out at $110, okay? That means there's going to still be a huge discrepancy here that nobody's taking into account, okay? So what happens is that according to this bill, since tickets can only be sold for 10% over, okay, it sounds great, right? I'm going to go see any concert I want, or I go to any sporting event. I don't have to pay 10% service charge. I'm not going to have to deal with these StubHub, 100% markup. It sounds great. They've just completely changed the game. We've been looking for a solution for the crazy ticket prices, and these council members in DC found the solution. They're just going to cap it at 10% and think that's going to solve the problem. It sounds so great, right? But think about it. Really think about it. I think it sounds so good that they bought their own sale. They said, this sounds so good. It sounds great. We don't have to do any more. We've already done it. But what they haven't done is they haven't read any of the actual studies done by universities and the real life examples that have happened in other countries that have invoked similar laws. Okay, let's just play this out. 10%, okay? Let's just play this out. We use Taylor Swift as an example. She plays at your stadium there. Let's just say it holds 50,000 people, okay? And let's say her price is $100. Okay, so now it sells out like that, and now the most that anybody can resell a ticket for is $110. Well, guess what? Me, my kids, everybody I know, and thousands of other people are going to say, okay, give me those $110 tickets now. Now that I can only buy them for 10% more, give it to me. I'm willing to pay you that 10%. Here you go. Here's my $110. Give me my Taylor Swift ticket. What? What do you mean you don't have it? What do you mean? There's a law now that says you have to give me that ticket for 10% over. The law, that's what these council members just passed the law. So where's my ticket for $110? I don't get it. You just passed a law. I want my ticket. I'm going to this council member and ask for my ticket from him. Maybe he's got it. Problem is, nobody's going to have it. That's the problem. There is now going to be a huge gap between people that want those tickets and they will pay whatever price that they think is worth to get that ticket. Now they can't get that ticket because the government decided, no more. we're going to eliminate free enterprise and capitalism in this section of the world here in District of Columbia, because we've determined that the people are too stupid to figure out for themselves what they want. So we'll figure it out for them because we're smarter than everybody. So the council members will say, well, if nobody has it for 110, for the 10% over, then I guess you can't go to the show. Tough luck, Chuck. That's exactly what they're saying. They're basically telling the fan, you're out of luck, guys, because we passed this law, you voted for us, so you're tough. You just can't get it anymore. You don't have the luxury that you had before, where if you wanted to get the ticket and you were willing to pay a higher price, you had an option, a legitimate option, that you were protected also because you were dealing with legitimate companies that were reselling that ticket for the market price. Okay, not a price determined by the government, by some council member sitting in his office going, well, I think 10% sounds like a good number that we could all live with because, everyone's going to love that idea because they're not going to have to pay 100% or 200% over the price anymore. 10% is a fair price. They can live with that, so let's do that. What they're failing to realize here, the problem they're trying to solve will create further problems that they're not anticipating. They're ready to sign on the dotted line because they think this is a great, wonderful idea, and thousands of people are for it. Everybody's for this idea of having capped prices. But reality is, when you do want that ticket, for whatever reason that you have as a consumer, and you're willing to pay for it, you are now denied that freedom of buying that ticket. The government has decided for you what's right for you. You can't decide that for yourself. They decided it for you. Okay. Also, I heard a lot of things, I listened to the hearing. A lot of things blew my mind. For example, there were a lot of people talking about who owns the ticket, okay? Who owns the ticket is paramount to the consumer. Now, the council member was saying that, well, it says in the law that the ticket is a license. Therefore, the consumer does not own the ticket. They don't have any rights whatsoever. I say to that, BS. I say that is this, certified grade bull. Okay, why is that? Because if I'm the guy paying my hard-earned money for that ticket, I should have the right to say what happens with that ticket. Not the government, not the venue, not Ticketmaster, not the artist, nobody but me, the consumer, the guy with the money who bought the ticket. I'm the one should say the buck stops with me, because guess what? If I don't buy that ticket, the game is over. You don't need laws about resale. You don't need anything. You don't need tickets. You don't need anything, because if the consumer stops buying the ticket, the game is over. Think about what happens here if the consumer is out of the equation. There's nothing to talk about anymore. The consumer should hold the rights to the ticket. One of the things I heard you say during the testimony was that the ticket is a license. And you seem to really go into the fact that, well, that's the law. The law is that the ticket is just a license. You're not the actual owner of anything. You're just a licensee based on the law. And you really led into the fact that, well, that's the law, so tough luck, Chuck. But I propose this to you. If you are really a champion of the people, then change the law for them. Fans don't have the resources to lobby to change this law. You can change this law for them, okay? Because you're trying to do the right thing for the fan, then do the right thing for the fan and change the law. The ticket ownership changes to the fan instead of to Ticketmaster or the box office or whoever it is, but not the fan. You and I both know that if you buy that ticket, you should have the right to do with that ticket as you please, and you should be the one controlling the show here. Not that Ticketmaster or the venue is the right. And all that arguments about how they do it because they want to keep, certain people, certain bad actors, certain bad fans out of the venue, and now having a license gives them that right. That's nonsense. If the fan is being disruptive, then he could be removed, not because he's a licensee or because he's a ticket holder. It's regardless of it. So there really is no I can't see a good legal argument for keeping it as a licensee, for keeping the fan, not the ticket holder, but a licensee. It really only benefits Ticketmaster and the venue. It has no benefit whatsoever to the fan, the guy who's buying his tickets. Okay, so if you really want to be a champion for the fan, change the law that states that the ticket holder is the owner of the ticket, period. The law states that the ticket holder is just a licensee and he has no rights, and we, as the ticket owners, like Ticketmaster, the venues, we determine what happens with the ticket. If we don't want to transfer that ticket, we're not going to. If we find somebody reselling the tickets, we'll just cancel the tickets on them. It's our choice. We own the ticket. They're just a licensee. They have no rights. So there's a lot of things that are going on here besides the markup. That markup is just paramount to the whole problem here, is that they think that they're going to solve all kinds of problems here by capping the markup at 10%. Okay, the problem is that the council members are forgetting one very important part. Fans want choice. Fans want to choose what they want, not what you want for them. You might say, well, fans, we don't want you paying $300 for that $100 ticket, so you're not going to do that anymore. We decided that for you. You're too stupid to figure that out on your own. We are the government. We will decide what's right for you. Okay, well, it just so happens to be that millions of people, not a couple of thousand people, millions of people buy tickets on the secondary market. I've researched this. There are literally tens of millions of people who go to live events in America every year. And out of that, about 17% utilize a ticket resale company, such as StubHub, Vivid Seats, Ticket Network, etc. These companies are not like what they call scalpers. The term for the law is the Resale Act, okay? And the S part of resale stands for scalpers. They're already putting into the mix that word scalper. They're mixing in with the word scalper the legitimate ticket resellers, which are multi-million-dollar companies, some billion-dollar companies, public companies that have shareholders, that have thousands and thousands of happy, satisfied customers. But all that is irrelevant to the council members who said, nah, they don't need to have a ticket resale company anymore because, the ticket resale companies that millions of people use, it's really not important anymore because the 10% is going to cover everything. If I'm a business person in the District of Columbia, I would be shaking in my boots right now because if they can determine that a private business should only make 10%, who's to say that they're not going to come after your business and say, you're making too much money, or you're charging too little, or you're charging too much, or whatever the government wants to decide. If they make that decision about your business, guess what happens then? You're going to be saying, wow, you know what? It's not really just about tickets. It's about free enterprise. It's about the government stepping over their bounds, going to places where they don't belong. It's almost like this. The government is now taking into their business the ticket business. By passing this law, the government now is in the ticket business. Whether you want to hear that or not, it's going to be true. Because to police these laws requires resources from the government. Okay, so I don't know about you, but when I pay my tax dollars to the government, I expect that money to be used for the betterment of mankind in our country. Okay, I'm expecting it to be used for things like, veterans affairs, health issues, crime issues, things like that. Things that are important to Americans, things that are important to everyday life. Okay, what I'm not expecting my taxpayer dollars to be used for is policing the ticket business. Okay, because if you think about this, is the government set already, or do they have nothing else to do? Are all the problems in the world solved? Do they have all these extra resources now that they could spend policing the ticket business, going after ticket resellers who charge 11%? They're going to go after you and they're going to say, hey, you charge more money, so we're going to utilize our government resources now to police the ticket business because we've done everything we need to do. We've done everything we need to do as a government. We're all set. We've got no crime. We have no crime. All the veterans are taken care of. Everybody's health is in order. Everything's fine in the world. So we're all set. So now we can allocate all of our resources that the taxpayers are giving us, and we can spend that money on policing the ticket business, hiring lawyers, hiring detectives, hiring whoever we got to hire to police the ticket business. This is one of the ridiculous. This law that they want to pass. It just shows you how little they thought this through, thinking that they're going to be heroes to the fans. They're going to be here. Everybody's going to be loving these council members because they passed this law and they've eliminated now the high ticket prices. Also, I heard some other things that really blew my mind. When they hear that tickets are going for $300, $400, $500 a ticket, and they're seeing the ticket reseller making all this extra money over the face value. They don't think that's fair because the artist and the promoters and the venues are not getting any of that money. They don't think it's fair that the ticket reseller is making all this money and not really giving anything to the art community, to the music community, to the sports community. They're just making the money, right? And they're not giving anything for it. Okay, that is a ridiculous argument. Explain why. Okay, when prices are set from the primary market, meaning Ticketmaster, the venue, the box office, the artist, they've determined how much they want to make. Okay, whatever that amount is. Let's say Taylor Swift decides $100 per ticket. She has determined, and her accountants and her managers, whatever, have all determined that making $100 a ticket is what she is going to be entitled to, what she deserves, what she wants to take her time and perform. Okay, so maybe at the end of the day, 100 tickets, $100 a ticket, 100,000 people, that's like $10 million, okay? So she's determined for her night out, she gets paid $10 million. Fantastic, right? She's making big money. Okay, now some resellers are going to make money on that too, okay? But the artist has made her $10 million. Regardless of what the ticket guy is making, if he's making $1 million or $10 or losing money, doesn't matter. The artist determined what they wanted when they set their price. The fact of the matter is that a broker, a reseller, made money after the fact. Regardless, that has nothing to do with anything. It just tries to make an outrageous claim to prove their point, which is that ticket prices are too high and we have to blame somebody. Let's blame the brokers. Well, guess what? It's not really the broker's fault. Okay, so they don't like the fact that the brokers, the ticket resellers, are making money off of the artist. Okay? That's a ridiculous way to look at it. It doesn't prove your argument whatsoever. It might make your claim seem more valid. Oh, well, something needs to be done because these brokers are making too much money. Who cares? The fact is the artist got paid what they wanted to get paid. The venue got paid what they wanted to get paid. Everybody got paid what they wanted to get paid. What this really involves is this: greed. It's greed is what the issue here is. Greed. Greed is the problem. Remember from the movie Wall Street when Gecko would say greed is good. Well, in this case, greed is not good. Why? Because it's making everybody greedy. When people hear that the prices on the resale market are going for $300, $400, $500 a ticket, they're like, wow, these guys are making a fortune on these tickets. We want some of that too. That's greed. You already determined how much you wanted when you set your price, okay? Regardless of what others guys getting, regardless of what the other guys get, you want a piece of that too. You're just greedy. You want a piece of that. That's all what this boils down to is greed. The promoters are pissed that they're not making, that they didn't price their tickets high enough. Maybe they think that if we priced it higher, the brokers wouldn't make so much and we could make more. This is about greed. The artist also says the same thing. The artist says, oh, okay, I priced my ticket at $100. I'm cashing out at the end of the day. I'm making my money. Great. But then they hear, wow, look how much these brokers are getting from my tickets. They're not doing any of the work, but yet they're getting all this money. It's greed. They want more of it too. Who cares what the broker's getting? They've already determined their profit. They determined their take home for the day. They determined how much they want. Now it's just about greed. They just want more money. More money, more money, more money. Okay, also, the fact of the matter is, now I don't know if you guys have ever used a ticket. I don't know if you guys ever used a ticket service before, okay? But they're not working for free and they're not doing a job for nothing, okay? Just like any other, if people seem to have a problem with the broker or the agent making money, just like in real estate agents make boatloads of money, okay, by selling a house. Ticket resellers make their money for providing a service, okay? That service is procuring the ticket for their customer, okay? And sometimes they make a lot, sometimes they make a little, sometimes they make money, sometimes they lose money, like any business out there, okay? But they should not be disparaged because they are making money at what they do. They're not hired to play in the act. They're not hired to play music at the venue. They're not hired to play in the stadium. Their job is to procure the ticket for their customer, and they're getting paid for that. Okay, the artist is getting paid what they wanted for their job. It makes no difference if the broker's making money also, just like it makes no difference if the vendors who sell their t-shirts. Everybody's making something off of the night out, okay? Great, wonderful. More power to everybody involved. If there's that much to go around, that's wonderful. But the government doesn't certainly need to be involved saying, only the brokers are limited to the 10%. How about the guy selling t-shirts? The other day I saw a t-shirt for $75 for a concert. $75 for a t-shirt. That should be illegal. Okay, but imagine though, play this out. The government says, you know what? That is a lot of money for a t-shirt. You should sell that t-shirt for $20. Because selling a t-shirt for $75 just sounds ridiculous to me. So from now on, all t-shirts should only be sold for $25. Sounds great, right? Again, same exact idea. The market should determine the price. If people are willing to pay $75 for a t-shirt, great, okay? But that supply and demand curve will point out where exactly the price should be. And if it's determined that $75 is too much and nobody's buying that shirt, the price is going to go down. The law of supply and demand will set that price, not the government. I don't want the government's hands in business. Private business matters should be handled by business. Government should handle the government business. Private business should handle private business. Laws. Let's talk about laws. The ticket business, okay, there are problems with the ticket business, okay? But the 10% cap is ridiculous, okay? Just get rid of that. Immediately get rid of that. Why? Because you'll see that it's going to cause more problems. You'll see that they've told you during the hearing that it's been determined in many other countries that when you have a cap, it just creates further problems. People will end up buying their tickets on the black market. There'll be tickets posted on Craigslist, on Facebook Marketplace. People will be meeting in shady corner. People will be meeting in dark alleys. People will be getting ripped off. People will be getting hurt. It's already fact, okay? It's fact, not fiction. This has happened in other countries. 4 times the amount of fraud has been going on now in some of these other countries that invoke similar laws, okay? So just deal with that. You have to be able to understand and accept the fact that if you pass this law, you're going to create a black market where people are going to get hurt. Now, people do pay more money than the regular price. They're paying more than 10%. And in some cases, they pay less than 10%. The market will determine the price. If you let the market determine the price, and if you have a lot of tickets available in the secondary market, I mean a lot of tickets, that means the prices will come down. If you constrict the market and you make less supply available to the public, the prices are going to explode. So when a resale ticket does end up someplace out there, it's going to be ridiculously expensive because the seller is taking a tremendous risk, okay? Whereas before there was a set marketplace where companies were involved and you had somebody to go back to if there was ever a problem, but now you're eliminating that because no company is going to stay in business at 10%. You know that already. But you're passing this law because you want to eliminate the ticket resale business. Or best case scenario is you say, well, stay in business anyway, 10%. We don't really give a poop what happens. All right, anyway. All right. Look, if you're really gung-ho on passing laws, these are the laws you need to pass. Dynamic pricing. What is dynamic pricing? Okay, that's where the primary market, also known as Ticketmaster, sets a price to start, and then as the day is going on, they can raise the price as they want to. If they see that there is tremendous demand for a show, they can increase the price at will, without limit. No 10% limit, no limit, okay? So Ticketmaster and the other primary sellers out there, the box office included, they could determine what the price is as the day goes on. Price, a lot of people online. A lot of people must want to go for this show. A lot of people, look at all the people online. Wow, we could get more for these tickets. Jack up that price. And guess what? They do that during the middle of the day, in the middle of the transaction. I've had it happen to me. I'm online, I'm on Ticketmaster. I put the tickets in my cart, and before I check out, a box pops up and says, due to dynamic pricing, your price has gone up. That is egregious behavior. That should be illegal. Look, set your price and be done with it, okay? You want to get a $100 ticket? Wonderful. That's what you charge. Don't tell me in the middle of a transaction that you're going to jack up my price. That is ridiculous, egregious behavior, okay, on the part of Ticketmaster and the box offices. They want to control the entire market here, guys. They want to control the entire market, And they don't want you dealing with other resellers. They only want you to deal with Ticketmaster. They want to be involved in the whole ecosystem. All right. This one's a big one. All right. Ticket concierge. First off, when you at the hearing, when you were talking about, there was a lot of talk at the hearing about speculative tickets. They should be illegal. Why? Because people were furious that resellers were selling tickets that they didn't own. There are two different animals here that we need to address that were not addressed in the hearing. Number one, speculative tickets, listing a speculative ticket, something that you don't own and that you never intend on owning, is fraudulent, okay? That is outrageous, egregious behavior. That behavior, I agree, should be illegal and is illegal. There are already laws under the books about fraudulent business activity, okay? If you list a ticket and you sell somebody that ticket and you have no intention of ever filling that ticket order, then that's fraud, okay? And you ripped somebody off and you stole their money, basically, okay? But the reality of the world is that there are ticket concierges or ticket procurement services like Vivid Seats, Ticket Network. These guys are giant companies. Now, what you don't hear, though, is that even though they do this, they do procure tickets ahead of time before they go on sale. They are selling tickets that they don't technically own yet, but they promise that they will fulfill. Okay, and if they don't fulfill, if they don't fulfill the order, then you get your money back or more. I mean, I think in some cases they give you 200% of your money if they don't fulfill the order. The point is that this is not called speculative tickets. This is a ticket procurement service. It's a major difference. And if you pass a law that just groups them all together, then you're eliminating something that fans do want. You're eliminating the major factor here, that fans want choice. Why would somebody want to use a ticket procurement service? Well, I could tell you several reasons. Reason number one, you don't want to deal with Ticketmaster or the box office. That's a very valid reason, okay? But if you pass this law, then guess what? Now you have to deal with Ticketmaster or the box office. You cannot buy the ticket through one of these secondary markets anymore because nobody's going to sell you a ticket at 10%. We went over that already. So basically, you've eliminated the secondary business, and now you've made it a requirement that the consumer the fan has to buy their ticket through the box office or Ticketmaster only. If you group these things together and you just call it speculative tickets and eliminate the fact that there is a legitimate business called ticket concierges or ticket procurement service, then you're doing a disservice to the fans, to your consumers, to your constituents out there who want this service. Think about it. These companies have been in business for decades, okay? Some of these companies have been in business for decades. If these businesses were ripping people off and actually selling tickets and not fulfilling their orders, they would be out of business by now, okay? They'd be sued, they would be in jail because they would be ripping people off. Taking somebody's money and not giving them their ticket is stealing, okay? But yet, what you're not addressing here, the fact is that there is a legitimate business here that fills a legitimate need, and it's being lumped together with an illegal business that is ripping people off. They're not the same things. There needs to be a clear distinction in your laws. If you're gung-ho on passing laws, then you need to clearly state that a speculative ticket that is never fulfilled with no intention of fulfilling it is illegal. Great. But if you also say that there is a legitimate business called there is a legitimate ticket procurement service out there, that's a whole different animal. Now, again, several reasons for that you want to go. There are several reasons that I would want to go through a ticket procurement service. One, like I said, I don't want to deal with Ticketmaster. Two, tickets go on sale at a certain time of the day. Usually they go on sale at 10 o'clock in the morning on a weekday. I don't know about you guys, but I'm busy working that time. I don't have time to take off work and wait online or go on their virtual waiting rooms and wait for tens of thousands of people in front of me to get their tickets and spend all my time being frustrated watching their dynamic pricing and dealing with all their verified fan nonsense. There are times that I just don't want to deal with that. And I wish there was a service that would be able to get the tickets for me. And yes, of course, I'd have to pay for that service. But if I'm working and I can't get my kid tickets that day, then I want to be able to go to a service that is legitimate, that will follow through and get me that ticket. Yes, I'll pay more for that service, and I don't want the government telling me how much I have to pay for that service. I want to determine that for myself. Also, let's say I don't want to wait until a show goes on sale to buy that event. Okay, I might be making travel plans for next Christmas. Okay, I don't want to be able to buy my airline tickets, my hotel, and get my tickets all in order ahead of time. Not when it goes on sale, not when Ticketmaster or the box office says, okay, the ticket's going on sale on July 15th at 8 a.m., be there or be square. No, I want to say, I'm going to buy my ticket ahead of time through a ticket procurement service. This way I can take care of my travel arrangements, I can take care of my hotel, I can take care of my limo, whatever I want to take care of. The point is that they give me a choice, and fans want choice. I don't want to have to only go through Ticketmaster. Your bill is proposing that I only go through Ticketmaster or the box office. That is ridiculous. That should be illegal. Your bill should be illegal. Anyway, all right, so dynamic pricing, get rid of that. Allow ticket concierges. Yes, get rid of fraudulent ticket sellers. But guess what? Again, there are already laws on the books about fraud. Okay? Having another law just about tickets is just duplicating and making more of a bureaucracy. It's just like saying, oh, you know what? If you steal this pen from me, I'm going to make a separate pen law. You don't need a separate pen law. There's already a law against stealing. There's already laws against fraudulent activity. You don't need separate ticket laws just because it's a ticket. It just creates more of a government bureaucracy. You're involving more of the government involved in business instead of being involved in government. You want to pass a law? How about these outrageous 50% service fees that Ticketmaster is charging? If you look at Ticketmaster, now the prices are all disclosed ahead of time. But if you look at very carefully what Ticketmaster is actually charging, there are times that Ticketmaster is actually charging 50% service fee for your ticket. Well, guess what? If you don't have competition, you could do that. Maybe if there were more primary sellers involved in the on sale, I don't know how that would happen, but right now, if there's only one, that one seller will determine their service charge with no competition. What a wonderful position to be in. If I'm a ticket seller, primary ticket seller, and I have no competition, oh wow, guess what? 50%, 60%, 70%, I could charge anything I want. I'm the primary market. There's no competition. But if you did have competition in the primary market, let's say you had 2 or 3 primary market sellers selling the same venue, wow, the game would change dramatically. No more 50%, because the other guy would say, I'll charge 40%. The other guy would say, I'll charge 35%. The point is that competition will lower prices. Competition always lowers prices. Okay, right now, if you want to resell your ticket on Ticketmaster, guess what? Ticketmaster will determine the maximum that you could sell it for and also the minimum that you could sell it for. Just the other day, there was a show that I couldn't attend. And so guess what? I went on to Ticketmaster to resell my ticket, to list my ticket on their site. Well, 2 things happened. Number 1, they told me how much I could sell my ticket for. That was ridiculously outrageous. I was offended by that. And number 2, they made me an offer for my ticket. Okay? So let's say I spent $200 on 2 tickets. They offered me $25 for both tickets. They actually had that built into the equation while you were trying to, list your ticket on their site, on Ticketmaster's site. They said, well, you could just sell your ticket to us right now for $25. And so they didn't give me the option of listing the ticket for whatever price I wanted to list it for. And they didn't give me an option of lowering my price. They only said basically, hey, we'll buy your ticket at 5 cents on the dollar. Point is that Ticketmaster has too much power over your ticket. When they have no competition, they set their own rules. Now, if the government insists on being involved in the ticket business, then take this little nugget and consider this. Eliminate the fact that Ticketmaster determines the price floors and ceilings. There should be no floors and ceilings. Again, the market is the best determination of the facts. The market determines the best price. The market determines the optimal price that something should be sold for. Not Ticketmaster, not the government. Let the market decide. The market always wins. Because guess what? If I listed my ticket too high, I could lower the price. I could lower the price again and again. I could determine what the price is. And eventually that ticket will sell at the market price. That market price, that was the right price. The government's not going to tell me that artificially, and Ticketmaster's not going to force that down my throat. I need to determine that by myself as a ticket fan, I want to sell my ticket, I determine the price. Not the government, not Ticketmaster, not the artist. Nobody but me. Nobody but me, the ticket buyer. This one really burns me up. Okay, if you buy a ticket, okay, and Ticketmaster, the artist, whoever says, you can't transfer that ticket. We don't allow it. Again, it comes back to, are you a licensee or are you the ticket owner? Okay, who owns the ticket? Because if you're a licensee, you're subjected to whatever Ticketmaster, the venue, the box office, the artist decides. They're making decisions here on your money, on how you spent your money. They're saying, well, thanks for your money, but now you're stuck with that ticket. Good luck, Chuck. You can't sell it. You can't resell it. You can't transfer it. So it becomes worthless at that point. Well, they might say to you, well, you can resell the ticket, but only at face value. Again, it's an artificial price. The government is dictating what you can sell or can't sell that ticket for. Let's say they say you can sell the ticket for face value, okay? But let's say the market crashed. Nobody wants to go anywhere. And now let's say that ticket is only really worth $25 that you paid $100 for. And you're willing to get $25 for it. But guess what? They won't let you. There's no transfers. There's no price changing. The government decided, or Ticketmaster decided, that no transfers. Tough luck, Chuck. You're out of luck. Either you go or you lose your money. If you're passing laws, eliminate the ban on transfers. Eliminate the ban on no transfers. Okay, that should be illegal. You should have it so that if you buy a ticket, you should be able to transfer your ticket. Transfer delays. A lot of times when you buy a ticket, you don't get that ticket until 24 hours or 72 hours before the show. Why? Because they think that's going to dissuade people from buying tickets on the secondary market. They want to lock you in so that they're in control of your ticket. You buy the ticket and you buy the ticket 6 months. You bought your ticket 6 months ago, but you buy your ticket today. The show's in 6 months. You have to wait until 48 hours before you get your ticket. The transfer delay is just another tactic where Ticketmaster wants to control the entire situation from start to finish. They want to be in control so that you have no other options but going through them. You can't transfer your ticket. That means you can't resell your ticket. People want to be able to transfer tickets when they buy them. Okay, they don't want to have to wait 6 months. Okay, if you're going to pass a law that says transfer delays should be illegal. Allow the ticket fan to get their tickets as soon as they bought them and transfer them whenever they want to. Retaliation cancellation. What in the world is that? Okay, so let's say I buy a ticket to the Capitals game or whatever that's out in DC. And I put my ticket up on StubHub. And the Capitals or whoever, and it doesn't matter what it is, but the point is that they say, oh my gosh, this guy is selling our tickets. Well, we're going to retaliate and cancel his tickets. We're not even going to tell him. We're just going to cancel his tickets. Well, believe it or not, that is being done right now throughout the country from some venues. Some box offices are saying, we don't want our tickets being resold. So if you're reselling our tickets, boom, we're canceling them. First of all, that should be completely illegal. If you buy a ticket, again, it comes down to who owns the ticket. Does the fan own the ticket? If the fan owns the ticket, they should have the right to resell that ticket. And the box office, Ticketmaster, nobody should be able to just retaliate against somebody who has a ticket that they want to resell. And it really just what it comes down to is, do you really want to have ticket socialism in our country? Does DC want to be a ticket socialist society where the government is involved in the ticket business, where the government is determining, hey, 10% is enough for everybody? If you really want to go to a ticket, if you really want to go to a show, okay, and you're willing to pay more for that ticket, that should be up to you as a fan to determine yourself. I want to pay more for that. I don't want to pay more for the ticket, but if I really want to go to that show, I should have that option. If the government's 10% ticket cap goes into effect, they will eliminate the ticket resale business and they will eliminate fan choice because nobody's going to resell that ticket for 10%. Everybody knows that. It's an arbitrary number. We know that the best efficiency, the most efficient markets happen when there is market equilibrium, when there is price and when there is, the most efficient markets happen from ticket. The best scenario is the scenario that we already have, in the fact that prices are determined by the market, not the government, not the fan, not the price. The best price for a ticket is determined by the market, not by the government, not by the fan, not by the government, not by the artist, not by the box office. It's determined by the market. When a buyer and a seller meet at a price that is happy for both of them, that is, when a buyer and seller meet and agree on a price, everybody wins. The buyer wins, the seller wins. It's a fair price because everybody agreed to it. When the government determines the markup, now you have an artificial markup. You're going to have huge amount of demand, and nobody's going to be able to get that ticket for 10%. Try buying a Super Bowl ticket for 10% more. There'll be a line around the block, but nobody's going to sell it to you. Same thing with Taylor Swift. If she comes back to DC, $100 ticket, it's going to be sold for $110. Everybody's going to be online for that everybody's going to be online to buy that $110 Taylor Swift resale ticket, but nobody's going to be selling it. They're going to come to your office and say, hey guys, you promised us you're fixing the ticket business, but yet here, where's my Taylor Swift tickets? The same exact scenario is happening now. The same exact scenario is going to happen where you're going to have upset consumers because they're not going to be able to get their tickets. You're going to cause the fans to have no choice. You're not giving the fans any choice, and fans want choice. That's the number one rule here. Fans want choice. Now, there are already laws under the books right now. It's something called the Ticket Act. I think it's called the Ticket Act. So fans support the Ticket Act because basically it gives protections to the fans. It allows resale by legitimate ticket resellers who are going to stand behind their tickets and not get people ripped off. It allows a ticket concierge service. It doesn't allow people selling tickets that they never will deliver. There's already laws under the books for all of these things. But if you're insisting on making new laws, these laws that I just went over are the laws that you need to pass. Allow the ticket business to have the market determine the price. It always has worked that way for it has worked that way for decades. And now coming in here saying, oh, we need to change the ticket business. First of all, let me just say one more thing. The biggest problem with the ticket business is disappointment, okay? Everybody's disappointed. You can't make everybody happy, okay? If you are selling out a venue, well, as an artist, you're ecstatic, right? You sold out your venue, you made all your money, but you have a lot of disappointed fans. Now, one thing one artist does that's different than almost everybody, one thing one artist does that's different than almost every other artist out there is Garth Brooks. Why? Garth Brooks has set his prices legit at a reasonable amount. I don't know if they're $80, $90, $100, something like that. But what he does, he plays at big venues. What he does, I haven't seen anybody else do. He will add more shows until the demand has diminished, okay? So the whole graph, the supply and demand graph changes. At every second that anytime he adds another show, the supply and demand graph changes, okay? The more supply of the tickets, the lower the price. And Garth Brooks knows that. That's why he is doing this for the fan, okay? He's not doing it for himself. Of course, he's making more money because he's putting on more shows. But he knows that if he doesn't do this, the resale market's going to explode because, he's only doing one show. It sells out. And of course, the resellers are going to get, 2-3 times the price of the ticket. But he knows also that if he puts on 2 or 3 more shows, he's going to mess up the whole supply and demand ratio. More supply means lower prices. Garth Brooks is doing for the fan. He knows that more supply equals lower prices. When an artist plays one show, that they have the capability of playing multiple shows, they also know that their prices are going to go higher, but they choose not to play more shows. Nobody can force them to play more shows. If you want to pass another law, say, hey, you know what, Taylor Swift, we're going to require you to play 5 shows. That's the law now. We've determined that that's what's best for the consumer because, we don't trust the consumer to make their own decisions anymore. Since we're involved in the ticket business now, Taylor Swift, you must now play 5 shows or you're going to be arrested. By bunching groups together that don't belong together, I think you're doing a disservice. The name of the bill is called Restricting Egregious Scalping Against Live Entertainment Resale. Okay, you got the word scalping in there. I noticed during the hearing that word was used a lot, but a lot of the people that were ticket resellers were offended by that because there's a clear distinction between a scalper and a ticket reseller. By grouping them into the same category is a disservice to the fan. How? Because what you're trying to do is pass a law that's going to make it better for the fan, right? That's the ultimate goal here, is to make ticket buying better for the fan. But what if this law backfires and actually makes it worse? Whereas a ticket scalper, by definition, really is somebody on the street hawking tickets. That's what you expect when you hear the word ticket scalper. I think of a guy on the street selling tickets. And a lot of those guys in the street selling tickets, some of them might be legit, but a lot of them are just ripoffs, okay? And by passing this law, you might be actually creating, again, the old-fashioned ticket scalper game where people are getting ripped off on the street, okay? Because you're doing away with the legitimate ticket reselling business. Again, if you're categorizing the legitimate ticket reseller as a scalper, then you're doing a disservice to the fan, because the fan, 17% of all ticket buyers buy their tickets through a ticket resale service. That's millions of people, and you're taking away that freedom, that right that a fan should have, that choice that a fan should have. If they want to go to a ticket reseller, then they should have that option. Now, I know you're going to say, oh yeah, but they do still have that choice to do that. But no, not really, because if you're capping the resale 10%, you know that's going to eliminate it. And I know you're also going to say, well, there are guys in other countries that are selling tickets at 10%. They're making a living doing that. No, they're not. They're not telling you that they might be getting subsidized from sources that you're not aware of. They make it seem that they're making this living by selling it at 10%, but you know that almost any business now that operates in the world, you can't make a living at a 10% markup. There's just too many costs, fixed costs. You know, you got your costs of electricity, insurance, employees, healthcare, whatever. There's so many costs involved in running any business that 10% for any business is insufficient to make a profit at, to make a living at. And so the guys that are telling you in overseas that we're making a living, we're selling plenty of tickets this way, they're either lying to you or they're not disclosing everything that's factual. By grouping things together that don't belong together is doing a fan a disservice. For example, by grouping speculative tickets with a ticket procurement service, not the same thing, okay? A speculative ticket seller that has no intention of fulfilling that order is fraudulent and should be illegal, and guess what, is illegal anyway. But a ticket procurement service is a legitimate business that's been doing that for, decades, and fulfilling orders for decades without any problems. By making it sound as if speculative tickets is the same thing as a ticket procurement service and having that business eliminated makes the fan lose their choices. That is not giving the fans choice. It is actually taking a choice away from them. Again, by eliminating this business, you are forcing the fan to only buy their tickets through Ticketmaster or the box office, and a large portion of fans do not want to have to go through that, or they can't go through that because of other reasons that they have, personal reasons, like they can't get off from work to go buy tickets, or they want to buy tickets well in advance before they go on sale so they can make travel plans and other arrangements. So there is a legitimate reason that somebody would want to buy a ticket through a ticket procurement service, and grouping that in again as a speculative ticket, there needs to be a clear distinction between the two, ticket speculator and ticket procurement service. One should be wrong, one should be right. And if you're passing a law, I think you have to make sure that you have the choices in there for the consumer. I don't envy your position that you put yourself in by sponsoring this bill, because this bill is going to cause more trouble than you intended. While your intentions might be just because you want to have fans be able to buy tickets at a reasonable price, the bottom line is a hard pill to swallow. Because let's deal with some facts. There are only a certain amount of people that can fit into an arena. Agreed? Yes. And there are, for a hot show, tens of thousands of more people that want to go to that show than can fit into the arena. Agreed? Right. So that creates a pricing disparity. That creates a difference in the supply and demand equation. Okay? The normal equation is you have $100 a ticket, you have 50,000 fans, you have just 50,000 fans, they're all willing to pay that price, boom, you have no discrepancy. But the reality of the world is that you have a price that's fixed by the box office or the artist, and you have way more fans that are wanting to go, that can fit into that arena. And because of that difference, it's going to create a market for the ticket, okay? That is a wonderful thing if you think about it, because that market for the ticket now allows some people who were sold out to have an opportunity to buy that ticket at the market price, be it higher or lower than what the price is set for initially. How wonderful that is to have that ability to be able to buy that ticket. Okay, there's many reasons that you may need to utilize one of these ticket services to get that ticket. So, you could be you might have the most important date of your life, and she really loves this act, and you need to get tickets for that act, and you're willing to pay the price to get that ticket because your relationship is dependent on that, right? So or you're just a huge fan. You're such a big fan. You've been a fan your whole life. This is the first time and only time this person might be coming to town, and you really must see this person, and it will be a lifelong dream of yours to go see this live act, okay? And you're willing to pay whatever you're willing to pay. You set your price in your mind. Okay, I'm willing to pay, $200 for that ticket because I really want to go to see this show. It would be a lifelong dream of mine. Or you're in business and you're entertaining a client. Then if you get this contract for this client, if you take him to this show, he's going to give you this contract. You're going to land this contract. It's going to make your business grow, and you're going to make lots of money from it. And your business is going to survive. And your employee. You don't have to lay off your employees. It's a wonderful thing because all you need to do now is somehow get these tickets that are sold out. Boy, if there was only a service that could guarantee me these tickets, at a higher price, but if I know if I can get the tickets from this service and not get ripped off, what a wonderful opportunity that is. What a wonderful service that is. How lucky am I to have a service like this where I can actually get something online, not get ripped off, and get guaranteed tickets. And if I don't get them for whatever reason, at least I have a legitimate resource to go back to, as opposed to a street scalper who I'll never see again, who I'll have to file a police report, who I'm going to get ripped off, disappointed, cry. I'm never going to get that date again with that girl. I'm never going to get that business contract deal. Giving fans choice is really what this should be about. Again, I respect the idea of what you're trying to do, but the reality is, no matter what you try to do, there's going to be that disappointment where all these people who didn't get in, who are sold out, they're going to be disappointed. They're going to be upset. They're going to cry. It's just going to not be pretty. Okay, but that's the reality. No matter what law that you pass, no matter what cap you put on the tickets, this group of people who got sold out are going to be disappointed. They're going to be unhappy. They're going to be miserable. They're going to be complaining. They didn't get tickets. Guess what? That's the reality. That's the hard pill that we all need to swallow when we're trying to change the ticket laws. And we're saying, oh man, the ticket laws need to be changed. You can't change the fact that the supply and the demand ratios are always going to be offset by the fact that there's just more people that want to go to a show than there are tickets available for that show. You have to, if you accept that fact, although you're going to be disappointing a lot of people, you're going to be disappointing more people if they're getting ripped off trying to buy tickets on the secondary market that doesn't exist anymore because of this law. You're going to be getting more people upset with you with the fact that they could have bought their tickets from a ticket procurement service ahead of time and been locked to get their tickets locked up and not have to worry about it anymore, with the fact is now they have to deal with Ticketmaster. Now they have to wait online and still be disappointed and not get their tickets and not have an opportunity to buy them and not have that fan right to buy that ticket for whatever price they want, higher or lower, whatever price that the customer, the fan, determines for himself. Having the government determine it for you is a recipe for disaster that has been proven over and over again over many, many years, many university studies, many actual international cases that have implemented laws like this, thinking they're helping the fans, only to find out that fraud has gone up 4 times. I don't envy your position. The simplest approach here is to embrace what's out there now. Embrace the fact that there is a business that takes care of this for the fan. The fan has lots of choices, but if you're insisting on passing laws, I went through all the laws that you need to pass. If you insist on getting the government involved in the ticket business and you feel like this desire to pass laws, these are the laws you have to pass. Eliminate dynamic pricing from the primary market. Eliminate ticket retaliation cancellation. Eliminate transfer delays. Eliminate ban on transfers. Eliminate the price and ceiling floors. Eliminate the ridiculous 50% service charge that Ticketmaster can charge. Eliminate the ban on ticket concierges to allow a ticket procurement services. And remember, greed is not good. When the artist determines their price, that's it. When Ticketmaster determines a price, that's it. Set your price and forget it. Don't allow them to say, oh, the guys over there who are reselling the tickets are making more money than us. We're jealous of them. We want more money too. There's already laws on the books to protect consumers. We don't need more laws. We don't need the government. Again, we don't need the government getting involved in the ticket business, having another bureaucracy to get involved in. It's not going to solve anything. Read the studies by the universities who've actually dived into this head first, put all the research into it. It's very interesting, especially if you're sponsoring bills that are going to change the fans' behavior and possibly end up making a situation much worse than you intended. Look at the studies that were done in Arizona and other places. Look at what's going on in other countries. Don't take the little isolated instance where you had one of the testimonies saying, yeah, we're selling the tickets at 10% over. We're doing just fine. No problem. Everything's hunky-dory. You don't know what's going on there. You have no idea. One guy's testimony saying he's making a living and filling all the orders at 10%. I'd like to see him do that with Taylor Swift or a big or a major event. It ain't happening. That ain't happening anywhere. You're not going to get somebody selling their ticket at 10% more when the market is going for 200% more. It's basic economics. What the only law here that should matter is the law of supply and demand. All right. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next Sunny Reviews. Hope you have a sunny day. Later, Gators.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun reviews.